Anyone who's ever watched Resident Evil knows, the licker is a terrifying creature. It's blind, but it has a keen sense of hearing and strong limbs. In Resident Evil, it's like walking across the street. But this is a monster with a lot of power. But in his hands, he's nothing more than a plaything. It's the Tyrant, a biological weapon designed to kill. Though Tyrant's power is limited by his suit, a few lickers are nothing in his eyes. When Tyrant goes into a rampage, the feeling of oppression is suffocating. So dozens of lickers versus an Iron Tyrant. Who's stronger and who's weaker? Maybe this Resident Evil curse will tell you the answer. The story takes place after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The former allies of the Soviet Union have declared their independence. The Eastern Slavs were one of them, but with the rapid development of capitalism, the country became dominated by capitalists. The gap between the rich and the poor became too wide. The poor were in dire straits. They had no choice but to take up arms. But the government forces are better equipped. The rebels are losing ground. They were forced to fight a guerrilla war in the shadows. The fighting continued for more than a decade. The rebels suffered heavy losses. But the remnants did not give up. They even tried to win the war. They even resorted to the use of chemical and biological weapons. The appearance of biochemical weapons attracted the attention of the US government. So they sent an agent, Leon, to East Slavonia to investigate the matter. But as soon as he arrived at the battlefield, he received an order to retreat. The US government had broken with the East Slavic government. All American citizens must leave the country. But Leon refused to return. He was certain that there were chemical and biological weapons here. He had to find out why. Otherwise, it won't be long. Bioweapons are going to be all over the world. Leon hung up the phone and headed for the rendezvous point. But when he arrived at the rendezvous point, he found his contact seriously injured. Before he could get any information out of him, a licker appeared out of nowhere. It swooped down and killed the contact. Leon reacts quickly. He immediately took a swipe at the licker, but he's too fast. Soon he's out of sight. Then he reappears in front of him. It's coming at Leon again. Leon quickly switches bullets and fires. The licker turns and runs. He dodges the bullets by using his maneuver. Leon is right behind him. The next moment there's an explosion. Leon was able to get up from the impact of the explosion. He saw the lickers closing in on him. But just when Leon thinks he's going to die, the licker stops attacking. It's backing away in frustration. It turns out that an old man is controlling it, and Leon fainted. When he woke up, he found himself in a basement, tied to a chair. There was the old man. There were two other men. The three men are the leaders of the rebels, and the old man is their chief. But he doesn't look right. It must have something to do with controlling the lickers. They questioned him. Leon didn't say much. He just told them not to use bioweapons. Otherwise, many innocent people will be killed. But in order to win the war, the rebels will do anything. Of course they won't listen to Leon's advice. But then, the chief suddenly began to cough violently. It gave away their position. The government troops quickly broke down the door. They caught them on the spot. But the old man's symptoms were getting worse. When he raised his head, his eyes turned red. While all the government troops were at a loss, Buddy grabbed the soldiers' weapons and launched a counterattack. Leon took advantage of the situation and knocked down two of the soldiers and fled. But the sound of gunfire brought out more government troops. Luckily, this place is well connected. They soon escaped the enemy. But the Sheikh chose to stay behind. He knew he couldn't hold out much longer. He was too weak to lead the rebels in their plan to attack the capital. So he gave Buddy the responsibility. In order to prevent a complete mutation, the chief asked Buddy to kill him himself. Buddy had no choice but to send the chief away in tears. Then they decided to split up. Buddy went to look for the rest of his team. JD returns to the church base. Leon, who was in the shadows, could hear this. He chose to follow. But when he came to a room, he found JD shivering in the corner. While Leon was confused, a zombie suddenly jumped behind him. Leon kicked it down. Then he quickly got up and grabbed the zombie's big scissors. He killed the zombie with a pair of scissors. But he didn't have a chance to return the favor. Another zombie jumped on JD. Luckily, Leon took action in time. He saved him from the zombie's mouth. The rescued JD gradually let go of his guard against Leon. He even escaped from the tunnel with him. Who would have thought that when they came outside, they saw several zombies chasing a government soldier. The soldier had no way to escape and was jumped on the spot. A zombie came forward and spat out a parasite from its mouth and shoved it directly into the soldier's mouth. After a painful struggle, the soldier was mutated. JD was dumbfounded by this scene. When they arrived at the church, Leon told JD, "This is what happens when you use biological weapons. The townspeople have been taken over by the parasite and can no longer become normal human beings." That's when Buddy Buddy came back. He punched Leon in the face without saying a word, and tied him up again. Apparently he didn't want Leon to ruin his plan. Then Buddy told JD, in order to carry out his plan, he decided to take the chief's place and go to the elders to get the parasite to inject himself, so he can control the Lickers and attack the capital, even if he ends up as a zombie. JD knew Buddy wouldn't change his mind, so he turned to Leon. He quietly unties Leon in the hope that he can stop Buddy. As much as he wanted the rebels to win, but he didn't want the man he'd grown up with to become a monster. It turns out that Buddy and his fiancée Tilda Copyright E used to be teachers at the school, but the school was attacked indiscriminately by government forces as a rebel hideout. Buddy's fiancée Tilda Copyright E and countless children died, so Buddy was forced to join the rebels. JD handed over his weapon to Leon. He told him exactly where Buddy was. That's what Leon came here for, so he agreed. However, when he arrived at his destination, he realized it was too late. The only thing he saw was a box of used parasites on the ground. But just as Leon looks around for Buddy, a woman appears and attacks him. It's King Ada. She was supposed to help the rebels attack the headquarters, but now it seems they don't need it. And Leon's continued questioning. Ada didn't reveal her intentions. She took out her rope gun and left the scene. He also warned Leon the town was about to be bombed. Leon rushed back to the church to tell the rebels to evacuate the town. Instead, they're surrounded by zombies. Inside the church, there are bodies everywhere. JD was the only one who survived, but he was attacked by a walker. JD knew that he would soon be mutated, so he returned his equipment to Leon. But then Buddy came back. But JD was already showing symptoms of mutation. Before he lost consciousness, JD told Buddy what he really thought. He didn't care if he was independent or not. He just wanted to be happy with his brothers and friends. Soon JD turned into a zombie. Leon had to send him away himself. But JD's death didn't change Buddy's mind. He decided to continue the attack on the headquarters tomorrow as planned. But as soon as he said that, there was a huge explosion outside. Government forces had begun carpet bombing. In the confusion, the two men had to run for their lives. The next day, King Ada was helping the East Slavic government to fight against biochemical weapons. He met with the president under the guise of the BZA. BZA stands for the United Nations Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance. But her identity was quickly recognized by the suspicious president. And when she was exposed, King Ada stopped pretending. She kicked over the coffee table. After all, there's only one bodyguard and a female president who has no combat power. She could have easily escaped, but she did not expect this seemingly easy to bully female president was actually a martial arts instructor before. The two of them fought instantly. After a few rounds, King Ada was defeated. She was outmatched and had to flee. But she didn't realize that the presidential office had a hidden button. The president pushed the button. In an instant, the entire office was sealed off. A huge lift went underground. King Ada was tied up and hung in the air. But they underestimated Ada's ability to escape. As a top agent who's always on the edge of a knife, she was able to untie the rope with ease. She lifted her 40-meter-long legs. A spring-loaded knife from the sole of her 18-centimeter heel cuts the rope with ease. At the same time, Buddy's Lickers have stormed the presidential palace. By the time Leon got there, the government forces had been wiped out. Even the inside of the presidential palace was littered with corpses. The dying soldier grabbed Leon's foot. The noise attracted the Lickers' attention. Leon leaves the soldier and flees. Two Lickers followed him. After killing one of the Lickers, Leon opens the front door and almost falls down the lift shaft. The Lickers that follow him can't brake in time and fall down. Leon follows the shaft to the basement. He met King Ada, who had escaped. They found a hive-like laboratory. Each hive contained a parasite. I didn't realize it wasn't just the rebels who were using bioweapons. Even the government forces are using them in secret. That's why King Ada came to the presidential palace. At that moment, the female president is leading a large number of government troops. The two of them were instantly surrounded. King Ada appeared to be captured. In fact, he had already thought of a plan to escape. When they weren't looking, King Ada switched off the lights in the base. The government troops fired immediately but accidentally killed one of their own. When the lights came back on, Ada was gone, and Leon had kidnapped the president. But he didn't know she was a powerful woman. She was free in a flash. The two of them fought quickly, but she didn't realize she was fighting Leon back and forth. The president ordered Leon to be killed. Leon quickly took cover. Suddenly, the base's hazard lights were flashing. Buddy's Lickers have entered the lift. The soldiers stopped their attack and stood guard at the lift entrance. As the lift door opens, countless Lickers are pouring out. They started slaughtering the soldiers in the base. Under their frenzied attack, The soldiers' defenses were quickly breached. Buddy ordered all the Lickers to attack the president. The soldiers who resisted were killed in a flash, but the president has already taken refuge in the safe house. The solid toughened glass prevents the Lickers from continuing their attack. A furious Buddy fires at the safe house, but to no avail. The female president also unleashes an even more horrific biochemical weapon. As a chamber rises from the ground, a Licker is sent flying. The next second, the hatch opens. A 4-meter-tall tyrant appears. Buddy takes control of a Licker and attacks the tyrant. But it's only a glimpse of the tyrant. The Licker is grabbed by the head. Even the Licker is defenseless in the tyrant's hands. It was crushed like a rabbit. The female president left the base with a wicked grin on her face. Then another tyrant came out of the chamber. It began to hunt down every living thing in the base. The two of them tried to leave by lift, but the doors were completely closed. At that moment, the lift door suddenly opened. It turns out that the escaped King Ada has accessed the security system and helped Leon once again. The two had just entered the lift. A tyrant forced the doors open. They had to climb up the shaft. Then another tyrant came along. Both Tyranids pushed their way into the lift. The force was so great that the connections above the lift were deformed. In the next second, the lift crashed. The two Tyranids fell with it. But at the last moment, Buddy leaps. With the help of Leon, they climb out of the shaft only to find another tyrant outside. He's got a man in his right hand and a Licker in his left. It's like the Grim Reaper has come down to Earth. Leon knew there was no way out. He had no choice but to fight the tyrant to the death. So he and Buddy split up. Leon will draw the tyrant's attention, giving Buddy time to control the Lickers. Soon Buddy arrives with a large number of Lickers, and he controls them to attack the Tyranids. Two Lickers attack first, trapping the tyrant's hand. The other two attack, but the tyrant takes no damage. He's using the Lickers as tools. The Lickers are destroyed within a few rounds. The other Licker turns and runs away, but the tyrant wasn't going to let him go. He sprinted 100 meters to catch up with him. The Licker can't run away, so it attacks. He was punched out of the tanker. Leon shot at the tanker. He wanted to use the explosion of the tanker to kill the tyrant, but he didn't get rid of him. Instead, it destroyed his battle suit. The tyrant's power has been completely liberated and he's even more terrifying. He took out two Lickers in a flash. Buddy's in danger. Leon fires a rocket, but the Tyrannosaurus is still in one piece after the explosion. Unconvinced, Leon fires another rocket. The tyrant catches it with his bare hands. The tyrant throws a rocket at Leon. With a loud explosion, Lion is blown to the ground. The tyrant steps forward and grabs Leon. He throws him out with a vengeance. Not even the Licker could survive that. I didn't expect Leon to survive. Tyrannosaurus steps forward and grabs Leon again. He's going to give him one last shot. It was a close call. Buddy's got a couple of Lickers to save Leon, but the three Lickers are in a terrible state. They're torn apart by the tyrant. Buddy's tank is right behind him. The tyrant doesn't try to avoid it. He's right in the tank's face. He was able to bring the tank to a standstill. That's a lot of power. Leon climbed into the tank. He attempted to aim the cannon at the tyrant, but the Tyrannosaur dodges. It sways from side to side and can't get a clear shot. The tank is about to be overturned. A Lickspittle jumped at us just in time. It jumped on the tyrant's face and blocked his view. Leon took the opportunity to aim at the tyrant's head. The Licker is blown to bits along with the tyrant. I have to say, the Licker is pretty pathetic. They're used as tools and cannon fodder, but just when they thought it was over, two more tyrants appeared not far away. They were the same ones that fell down the lift shaft, but their binding suits had been damaged. It's all over now. It's hard enough to deal with one, let alone two. Leon took out his dagger and prepared to fight. But just as the Tyrannosaurus was coming at him, a fighter jet appeared and swept the tyrant into a hornet's nest. The other tyrant was blown to pieces. The US Air Force had arrived. And then there's this. Russian ground troops have also entered the capital. The two countries knew it was coming. The female president used chemical and biological weapons in order to complete the reunification. So they've been fishing for the big fish. When a tyrant appeared in the presidential palace, they took the initiative. This not only eliminated the bioweapons, it also created a public outcry that forced the female president to step down. And then they joined forces to establish a government in Eastern Slavonia, controlling all the country's resources. It was all a political struggle, but the war was over, and Buddy was able to get the parasite out of his body with Leon's help. But the price was total paralysis and a wheelchair. But it was worth it for Buddy. After all, Eastern Slavia was exactly what he wanted it to be.